we continue our work on the closed rose, and if we look at this rose that I've already made previously, we can see that the center of this rose looks exactly the same as the open bud that we've done previously. So which means that the first step of making in the making of this rose will be to assemble the same center as we've done before with the open rose bud. If you haven't watched that video, please go back using the links below and watch it first, because you will need to know how to do it before moving on. I have already done it here, so I've made a core stem and assembled the rose here using the small petals that we have previously shaped. So once this is done, I have 9 petals here already put on. The next step would be to add 3 more small petals, but this time these petals are backed, so you can see they're much stiffer, although if you tease them and pull them a little bit apart, they do soften up a bit more. So these 3 petals should go around exactly in between the places where the previous pairs have joined. So you have 3 pairs in the previous row, and to cover up the joining areas, we're going to add these 3 petals. I'm just doing it without the glue to show you the idea first. So literally form another circle around the central part that we've already created. These more solid petals hold the previous petals kind of closer together, and also obviously if you want to grow this type of center more, you can make pairs of these, or you can add more petals of this size to it. We are going to add these 3, and then we're going to move on to adding these other 5 petals that we have prepared. These petals are larger in size, so they are taller, and they are going to help us cover some areas at the lower part of the bud before we put the calyx in and finish the stem. So to go ahead and glue these 3 petals, we need to use some glue. So apply the glue still relatively high, at least halfway up, because they are still glued pretty close to the rose center. If you leave them for a couple of minutes, the wet glue will soften up the petals a little bit more, although it's not necessarily needed in this particular case. So as I said, the easiest way to do it without thinking much, you're just placing 3 petals in the areas where you have these joins between the previous 3 pairs. So I'm just gonna put one after another, and the last one can go slightly under the first one. In this way we kind of have a continuous closed circle of petals. If you prefer, you can add them more randomly. You'll see a bit more random addition of petals in the next step as well, when we're getting to add these 5. But personally I am sticking to the simple geometrical bud at this point, before I go into adding more random larger petals onto it in a minute. So yes, keep your bud in your fingers for a little bit to make sure that the glue has set. If you need to add bit more glue in some areas, do that. So these are the 3 backed petals done. The next step is to add glue to these larger petals, which are also quite stiff. Here, be a bit more careful when adding the glue, because we want them to start going away from the center. Like in this rose, you can see they are kind of quite, you know, placed quite apart from the center, and the further you go, the more apart they will be. So we don't want to put the glue too high on the petal, because otherwise it will show in your finished flower. If you have more closed petals, you know, more curled, you can use them first, for example, or if it doesn't really matter, just apply glue on all of these petals, like I'm doing now, kind of at this point, at the lower part of the petal. You can always add more. It will be difficult to remove if it's too much. So just have a bit of glue on each one, like this, and perhaps let it sit a little bit. So it softens the petal, and B, it kind of dries up a bit, so it's not it's not taking too long to attach the petals. As I said, you can choose to have between 4 and 6 of these, or more if you want. I'm having 5, like the middle number, and with these you can either apply them, for example, randomly, I don't know, like 12 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and then 2 o'clock and 6 o'clock, for example, or if you have 6 of them, and then 10 o'clock, or you can just apply them one after another, after another, after another, after another, like this, in a circle again. It's up to you, or totally random, more random than this. So it's totally up to you. You have, if you're making a bouquet like I am, you can have several designs of these roses. I did as well. So some roses are assembled in one way, others in differently. So you have a little bit of, you know, asymmetry going on, just like you will have with real flowers. They won't be all the same. So now let's attach these 5 petals. As I said, you can do it in different ways. I'm probably going to just attach them around my flowers. So see that they are slightly higher, perhaps than that your closed center. And then, as I said, either just around. Then once they've glued, you can pull them apart a little bit. Or you can attach them in a particular pattern. So I have placed all 5 petals in a circle. At the moment they're quite close. Once they've glued and the glue has set, you can open them up a bit more, however you wish, or open some more and keep others close. So this now needs to be let dry a bit. Make sure they are attached at the base here, and meanwhile we can go ahead and finish the stem with a layer of denim, and also add the calyx after that to finish our rose, just as we've done with the previous roses. If you don't remember how to do it, or you haven't seen this video, please go back to the previous lessons where we have covered how to do this part of the Denim Rose course. So here we go. I have finished the stem on this rose, and I've added the calyx just as we've done previously for other roses. If you don't remember how to do it, go back and re-watch the videos where we have covered this in detail. For my rose bouquet, I made 3 of these roses. You can see they're all slightly differently shaped, because you can add these petals in slightly random way. And and you can vary the amount a little bit as well if you want, you know, to have it fuller or a bit more closed. The leaves are coming later, so you won't have the leaves at this point of the course, but we will be covering them after we've done all the rose flowers. So in the next step, we're going to start working on our largest size of rose, and that will be a different principle of making it and assembling it.